Hi everybody. So today I'm going to talk about how to create a mock-up in Photoshop using smart objects. So to start off with, I've downloaded this billboard sign from morguefile.com. However, I'm expecting you guys to go out and take your own photo of a billboard. You're looking for something that is going to be at least 150 dpi, but preferably 300 or 600 dpi. So I downloaded this billboard, and I'm going to open it up here in Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CC, but this method will also work in Photoshop CS6, which is what we have on the labs there at school. So let's see here. In my downloads folder, I'm just going to drag that into Photoshop, and we open up here. So I'm going to crop this down. Well, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Images, Mode, and change it to CMYK color, because our end result, we want to print this. So printing is CMYK, RGB is for display or web. So convert it to CMYK, and then I'm going to open up my crop tool and crop it to 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches, or I'm sorry, yeah, 11 inches wide by 8.5 inches high at 150 dpi. I'm going to crop this in to get this little solar panel out here, and to kind of crop it so that it's here in the sweet spot of the photo, which is the rule of thirds here. If you don't know about the rule of thirds, Google the rule of thirds. But right here is the prime real estate of the photo where people are going to look. So I'm going to crop into that, and just to check, we're going to go to Image, Image Size, and now we see that this is 11 inches by 8.5 inches at 150 dpi. Cancel, and then you can see up here that it is a CMYK document. Okay, so we've got that, and I've looked up here on the internet standard billboard structure sizes. So the size of the photo, or size of the billboard in my photo, will be different than yours, or may be different than yours. And this is about a 20 foot by 60 foot billboard. So I'm going to want my ratio to be similar to 20 foot by 60 foot. So in Photoshop, I'm going to create a rectangle, and I'm going to double click in here, and I'm going to go 1200 by, what was that, 20 by 60, so that would be 400. And that ratio is going to be the same as, similar to that billboard. Okay, so we've got that there, and over here in our layers palette, we're going to rename this billboard, and right click in there and choose Convert to Smart Object. And so now what I can do is, if I double click in here, it opens up a new PSB file, which is a template file used with smart objects. And for right now, I'm just going to put in some black text. Call this billboard. Kind of center this here. Save it and close it. And so now we see we've got this piece here that says billboard. And I'm going to go Command T or Edit Transform, and it'll give me these handles here. We'll zoom in a little bit. I'm going to right click and select Distort. I'm going to grab each one of these points here, and sometimes I like to lower the opacity while I'm doing this just so I can see behind where I'm working. And we're going to make this the approximate size of the billboard. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it should cover up the background color. And so now that I've got it close, I'm going to bring the opacity back up. Looks like I need to bring it out a little bit here on the corners. And double click to finish that. All right, so now I'm going to double click on the layer level. I'm going to highlight gradient overlay, click on it at the same time. And this is going to simulate our light source. So let's bring this down to about 32 and go multiply. And so now when we drop in our art, it's going to simulate the shadow that's going from top to bottom that we also see here on the background. And if we hide our billboard layer, that we also see on the billboard, light to dark. Okay, so now I'm going to right click on my billboard layer and I'm going to duplicate the layer. I'm going to call this billboard depth and click OK. And I'm going to drag gradient overlay down here to the trash, double click on here, and I'm going to click on color overlay, and I'm going to get a dark gray, not completely black but a little darker, and click OK and OK. And then I'm going to, using the cursor keys, go down 1, 2, maybe 3, and over 1, 2. And I'm going to put that layer underneath that layer. And so that kind of gives us this visual depth. In fact, I might want to go over and up one a little bit. Again, this is going to be different for each one of your billboards, but this helps bring it away from the background just a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to save this as a Photoshop. So let's save to the desktop, call it Billboard Mockup 01. And click Save. And so that's how you create a mockup in Photoshop using Smart Objects. So now all I have to do is double click on my layer over here to open up my Smart Object, and I've prepared a fake billboard here in Illustrator. And so let's go back over to Photoshop, and I'm just going to grab that Illustrator document and drag it in here, and it's going to open as a smart object and crop to the art box. This you will want to make sure that it's set to crop to art box, and click OK. And so now it's dropped in my my Illustrator document. I'm going to save it. I'm going to close it, and now we've got a billboard that has some sort of or a little bit of perspective and a little bit of drop shadow, or not drop shadow, but shading to look like that it's in the sun. And again, we can adjust this later depending on what our billboard is. That looks a little bit more realistic there. And here's another neat thing. So I can double click on my smart object to open up my smart object, but I've also got this Illustrator smart object here in Photoshop. Double click on that and click OK, and it opens up in Illustrator. So then I can say maybe the client wants free smells 10 miles. So we'll save that. We'll close that. And again, this is my original document now that that other one's closed. But here, we're back in the Photoshop document. It updates. We save it. And back here in our mockup, it updates seamlessly. Okay, well, I hope that was clear. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thanks.